and conquer that fear, and just to meet others, meet more like-minded people, which is great, and it's been a revelation.
Fantastic. Varun, how long have you been at Toastmasters?
So January, January I became a member in March, and been going to every meeting ever since.
Fantastic. Jin, how about yourself?
So, my name is Jin. I joined Toastmasters in around February 2018, 19?
19.
Yeah, 19. And yes, so just over a year and a half. The reason I joined was because I delivered a podcast about a year before that, talking about my journey and a lot of stuff that happened in my life. And I wasn't very happy with that podcast. I used a lot of as, you knows, you likes. And when I look back at it, I thought I haven't given it my best go, and I wanted to do better, mainly because I was trying to spread a message that was delivered from my sister, and I didn't feel like I'd given it enough justice. I didn't ever think I'd be a good communicator or have the confidence to communicate. But then I started looking at courses that could help me and came across Toastmasters. Again, I walked in thinking, this is not really going to help me, but I'll give it a go. And a year and a half on, it's changed my life. And I think we'll talk about that a bit later, so I won't give too much away, but it has changed my life.
Oh, thanks, Jin. And last but not least, Elliot, would you introduce yourself to our Facebook audience?
Hello, I'm Elliot. I've been at Toastmasters for around 4 months. The reason why I joined is to gain a lot more confidence and self-esteem. I do suffer with self-esteem a lot, and it's enabled me to empower myself, empower others, and it's enabled me to meet like-minded people as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Elliot. So I'll introduce myself to you now. So I'm Asma Riaz, and I've been part of Walsall Speakers for 4 years since we started up. And I've been a Toastmaster in total for about 6.5, 7 years now. And I was part of Heart of England in Solihull first, and then I helped start up Walsall Speakers. So the purpose of these live broadcasts are now just to make people more aware of the benefits Toastmasters can bring to you, and just have a little discussions and Q&A around certain topics of how Toastmasters can help you, and not just for the sake of public speaking. As today is mental health awareness, I think during lockdown, especially, keeping positive mental health state has been something that everybody's really trying hard to do. And I just wanted to ask you guys, what is your perspective of mental health and its awareness out there in the world? Viral, maybe? Do you want to take that? What's your perspective on mental health?
It's a difficult one because everything is so personal, especially living through these times when we're more connected, but you also feel a lot more alone at the same time.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's come more to the forefront where people have started to recognize mental health, because it's very easy to forget about mental health because you don't really see it. It's just really in the background. It's easy to work on your physical health. People have been doing that since the beginning of time. There's a whole industry developed to it, occurring to it. But mental health, especially these days, especially with all the pressure a lot of people have, has to come out, and people have to talk about it a lot more. And hopefully, through doing sessions like this, it brings it out to the surface, and it helps people talk about their own mental health, because there's no shame in it.
Right.
We're not all okay at the same time. We're not all okay. It may seem it, but there's also always something going on.
And Elliot or Jane, how do you think the mental health awareness is in the world at the moment? Do you think people are more aware or less aware of how happy or sad they're feeling?
I think awareness is increasing, definitely, over the last few years. People are talking a lot more about it and being more open about what mental health is, or having any mental health issues themselves. And I think there's more programs coming out there to help with mental health. But at the moment, I still think it's very much looking at a cure to mental health rather than trying to prevent it in the first place. I think a lot more work needs to be done to prevent people having mental health problems in the first place, and teaching them how to create good mental health and working on a healthy mind. And enough is taught to help young children and adults on how to develop a healthy mindset.
Yeah. Elliot, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I'm actually very passionate about mental health. I was born with a physical health condition, and obviously it's you're notified of it straight away because you can see it.
Mm.
And I didn't really think about mental health until I was at university, where I myself experienced a downward spiral in my own mental health, and it's something different to physical disability because it's not seen. And although yes, the awareness is out there now a lot more, there's still a huge stigma around people with mental health issues, because I believe everybody got mental health, whether it's good or bad. Everybody got the mental health, and they need to keep it healthy the same way they would do physical health.
No, that's definitely a good point. There's some good points there that you need to make sure your physical and your mental health is in a positive state. And as Beryl said, it's something with the mental health, something you can't really see.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit harder to control and understand if you can't physically see it. So how do you manage your emotions on a day-to-day basis, especially during lockdown? And Eddie, you said during university it was quite hard. So how did you deal with those kind of emotions?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a bit of a story. So I did a law degree. I moved, very, very long story short, I moved away to Aberystwyth in Wales to do a law degree. And that first year of my law degree taught me a hell of a lot about life. Believe it or not, I actually failed the first year. But it taught me more about life than the whole degree did. And in my second year, my confidence was not that much that I actually went to a lecture and I experienced my first panic attack. And ever since that day, I could never sit in a lecture. So I never went to any lecture, went to any seminars at all, due to the fact that I kept on feeling this way, and I didn't know what was going on until I went to the doctor who referred me to see a psychiatrist, and he actually explained to me that I had issues around depression and anxiety. But even with medication, as Jim said, even with medication, it still didn't help. It overall, if it would helped at the very start, maybe I wouldn't have been as bad as I was.
Mm.
So it's very different to having a physical health issue due to the stigma of it. People just say, "Oh, it's all in your head." Well, of course, it's all in your head. Do you know what I mean? That's where it's going wrong.
Right. So did you just take it on a day-to-day basis then to make sure that you were able to get through the day?
I think I tried different techniques and found some that worked and found some that didn't work. So it was almost, yeah, take it on a day-to-day basis, but try different things to see what works for you.
That's good. So Jen, do you want to explain a little bit about how you controlled your emotions? Because you mentioned some story about your sister as well in your introduction. So do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that and how you dealt with your emotions through that traumatic time?
Yeah, just generally, I think from a young age, I had a lot of things going on. As I was a child, things that affected my mental health in a negative way. And in my teenage years, the solution I found was to self-medicate. So I turned to alcohol every time I felt that I was depressed or down. And obviously that never helps. It may make you feel good for the time that you're drinking, but after you've stopped, it's a depressant, so it just makes you feel worse. And I think that was just a vicious circle that I went through for a long time, and I didn't know how to overcome that. And then somebody introduced me to self-development books in my mid-30s, and I read a book called The Miracle Morning by Jeff Elrod, and it's basically a routine that you do every morning to work on your mental and physical health. And that routine includes doing things like exercise, visualization, so visualizing what you want to get from life, doing affirmations, so kind of saying to yourself where you want to be in the future, and visualize and saying it in a way that it's already happened. Writing down what you're grateful for every single day, and various other things. I think I've covered that's most of it. Meditation's the other one, and that's the kind of routine I started to do. I did it for about a year, and my whole life changed in many ways. I was a lot more confident. I was in control of my emotions. I wasn't really drinking as much. I still drank here and there, but wasn't drinking as much because I was more in control of emotions. It was like a medication for me in a way. So rather than me taking physical medication, by doing this routine, it became like a medication for me, and I had to do it every single day. And then just when I felt I was in a good place, my sister passed away, and I tried to continue with this routine, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't wake up early and spend time on myself without feeling really down. So I stopped doing it for about 3 months, and in that time I turned back to alcohol, started to self-medicate again, went into dark hole, and was basically getting to the point where I'd be really depressed and lose everything I've got. And I thought, how can I get myself in a good place? And I remembered back to my miracle morning routines, and started doing that again. So I started doing all the things that got me in the right place in the first place, and I've never stopped. So since that day, it's been just over 2 years. Every single day I've done miracle mornings. So I get up about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I do a 5K run, and then just do things that work on my mind. I know if I don't do those things, I will slip into depression and I'll slip in a bad place. So I know that's something I have to do every single day for the rest of my life. But I enjoy it, and it does help me control my emotions.
Wow, that's impressive. That's really impressive. We'll hear a little bit more on that in a little while, I think. But Viral, have you ever had episodes where you feel like you were on a downward spiral, and is there any sort of stories you'd like to share with us?
Well, funny enough, my not downward spiral, but it's linked to what Elliot said about moving to university for the first time.
Yeah.
Because you learn it's a huge shift, because it's just you, and you have to start learning about yourself. And the issue with learning about yourself is that there's positives and negatives. You find out what you're really good at, and you find out what you're not so good at, and sometimes you can end up just concentrating on that.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. I did find it very hard, the transition between living from home to going to university.
Yeah.
The downward spiral was, like Elliot, I failed not my first year, I failed my second year, and that caused me to move again. But then actually before I moved, I went on a downward spiral. It was just, unlike gin, I didn't go to self-medication. I just turned inward.
Yeah.
So it was to isolate yourself from others, not really care about anything like that, letting yourself go. What changed was I came back home, and I lived back at home for a bit, and then it helped me restart, get my own workout routine, etc. And it's gone from there. But you've also got to remember that every day is not going to be a good day. It's just sometimes it's good. It's all right to say, I'm feeling a bit rubbish today. Take some time for yourself, even a few hours. It will save you a lot of time in the long run. So that's how I've learned. But it's a learning process.
Yeah.
I'll be different it's going to be different in 5 years, and then it's going to be different in the 5 years after that. So it's a constant learning process. You never actually really learn. However, not that I'm against medication or anything like that. I think there's a lot of things you can do before you hit that medication. So there's a lot of things you can try, really simple things, whether it be physical exercise. But the main thing is, I would say, is you need to find someone to speak to, whether it's a professional, whether it's your mate, just something to let it out. Because it goes back to the old fart analogy. It's better out than in. So that's the best way of describing mental health. It is better out than in. And at some point, again, back to the fart analogy, even if it smells, doesn't matter.
No, that's a good point. I think that's very true. And I also think that when it's not always a downward spiral. Sometimes it's an upward spiral when people have so much pressure on from life, from work, from family, that it just builds up and then they just let go. And then the downward spiral actually starts. So even other ways to maybe let it go and to let it out is not, you can always write it down, rather than if you don't feel comfortable enough to speak to someone, you can always write it down and then talk about it after, because at least it's off your mind then and you're a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
So as we're all Toastmasters, how has Toastmasters helped you with your mental health for as long as you've been a member? Has it affected you in any type of way?
Well, it has, because you can speak to a room full of people without being judged. There's a lot of things that you'd say in Toastmasters that you wouldn't say anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you would have a lot of people to be that net to catch you. And another thing about Toastmasters is you're always surprised at who else is going through it. One thing I've learned in Toastmasters is that I'm not a delegate. I'll explain what I mean by the sentence in a second, but I'm not a delicate snowflake. I'm not the only one going through that. Somebody else has already gone through that. So it helps you because someone's already been through it, and it helps you get through it.
No, that's very true. That's very true. Jin, what about yourself? How has Toastmasters helped you?
It's helped me massively. So although I had worked on my mindset, kind of the journey I've been on, I got to a place where I started working on mindset after my sister passed away again, and then I was trying to kind of move to another level and be able to communicate my sister's message and other things more effectively. And that was just kind of the missing piece, really. So I'd learned to work on my mind, but I still wasn't very confident, and I still wasn't a great communicator. So when you put that missing piece together, my life just changed. So after I've walked into Toastmasters, and now I'm like I feel like a full piece now. Like I thought there's always pieces missing from me. And I think the pieces that are missing with the mindset, the confidence and the communication. And luckily I've been in a position where I've had them pieces put together in many ways. And it's helped me massively. Like in the last few years, I've gone from being very unconfident, walking around and looking towards the ground, not really being able to communicate to people, to now, just a few months ago, coming second in the UK and Ireland at the Toastmasters competition, which I thought would never be possible, which is an amazing thing. And now I'm just tying it all together. So as a child, I felt my purpose was to help young children. So my purpose in life is to make sure that all children have the same opportunities in life. And that's one of my affirmations that I say to myself every single morning. And I've been saying that to myself over the last 2 years. And now it seems to be coming true. So my dreams and vision of what I wanted to achieve as a child has started to become a reality, because for so long, even though I knew what my purpose was, I didn't know how to fulfill it. Now that I've got this mindset, confidence and communication, I've basically packaged all that together and seen what was missing in my life and created a course for children called Magical Mornings. And it's where I work with children in the schools every morning, doing a 15-minute routine, doing things like stretches, thankfulness, affirmations, relaxation of the body and mind, and journaling their thoughts and feelings. After they've done that 15-minute routine, they do it every single day over a 12-week period. And during that 12-week period, I take them on a journey from becoming a pupil in the class becoming the teacher in the class. So by the end of the 12 weeks, they are actually the teachers. So what they're doing during that 12-week period is working on their mindset, working on their communication skills as they become the teachers of the class, and working as their confidence as they become the teachers of the class, and leadership as well in many ways because they're leading the class. So it's kind of helped me fulfill my purpose in many ways, and that is as as great as anything could be. Toastmasters helped me fulfill my purpose, and I can truly say that.
Wow, that's amazing, June. So how many kids have you worked with so far? Have you kept account?
So just before lockdown, I was working with 2 schools with over 100 children. And during lockdown, I decided to run my classes online, and I was getting 10,000 views a week from people watching the classes. And now, after this meeting tonight, I'm actually doing an online training course for a teacher in Southampton. So I'll be basically training the teacher how to do my magical mornings classes, so she can run it in her schools and run the 12-week program herself.
Wow. So you really truly have made that U-turn then, haven't you, in your life? It's amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, everything's just changed so much. Like I say, it's just opened so many doors up for me, and that's what I like to do. And to tell people, like, if you can be so intelligent, you'd be the most creative person, but if you haven't got the confidence and communication skills, you'll never be able to tell people, and people will never be able to believe in you. So once you open that door, you just open the door up to opportunities to you. I'm working with, I do something called magical speaking as well, where I help children all over the world work on their communication and confidence skills in a 5-week speaking course. And I've been working with some children in Nigeria, and it's just amazing because I was speaking to one of the teachers there today, and she goes, these children think that they've got no opportunities. These children think that they'll never get anywhere in life because they haven't got the same opportunities as people in the Western world. And I was saying to her, I'm doing this class and I keep losing connection, and I'm thinking I'm not doing my best. And she goes, you don't realize how much you're doing for these children. They're beginning to believe in themselves. They're beginning to think that they can achieve things and have got opportunities. So it's just amazing how many doors open for you when you realize but find a way to develop your confidence and communication skills.
Wow, Jin, that's amazing. Very well done to you for that one, actually, yeah. So, Elliot, how's Toastmasters helped you? I know it's been a little short stint at the moment for yourself, but how's Toastmasters helped you?
Yeah, so throughout life, I've always thrived on negative reinforcement. So I've had doctor telling me that I would never be able to talk and never be able to walk and never have a full-time job, etc. And I think my main thrive in life is to prove everybody wrong. I've felt like I've always had to prove everybody wrong. If anybody tells me I can't do it, I've got to try and prove them wrong. Toastmasters kind of flipped that on its head. I've never met so many positive people in my life. The whole energy is so positive, and the way people actually want you to improve and want you to get the better to yourself is just, as Jim said, magical. So I think it changed my mindset to actually positive thinking and positive reinforcement works even better than negative reinforcement.
It feels a bit weird at the start, doesn't it, when people are actually giving you positive feedback rather than driving off the negative. You're thinking, are they for real? So I'm glad you felt that, because I think we haven't met you in person yet, so hopefully next week. So during this pandemic, it's been a long while since we've all been sat at home and kind of secluded from the rest of the world and other people, and we used to see each other every 2 weeks at least. So how have you been coping with your mental health, and how have you kept yourself positive during the pandemic? Who wants to take that one first? Go on, Elliot. I see you smiling.
Okay. So I'm actually quite a very outgoing person. The thought of stopping inside the house 2 years ago for what we're now hitting the 6-7 months would just drive me crazy. I'd be like, no way, that is not me. I'd be normally bouncing off the walls. And I was classed as vulnerable, so I was sent home from work straight away, and I didn't get my work kit until 4 weeks down the line. So literally, it would just keep. I was so worried about my physical and mental health that I just kept busy. I even offered to clean the oven at one stage. And I actually did it. I did the garden every day, and it is about that. It's about doing the little thing to keep your mind occupied.
Yeah.
Keeping your mind healthy, noticing when things are going a bit pear-shaped or a bit downward, and talking about it, talking to other people, because I think the lockdown had made people feel isolated. But as River put it, when you talk to others, you realise actually you're not on your own, other people are feeling like this. And I think when it does come to mental health, it's kind of weird, and you do think, I've never come across people that actually think like this or feel like this or have these thoughts, and it's more common than you actually think once you start talking about it. So I do think talking and education and raising awareness is the key to all of this.
No, that's a good point, Elliot. I think there's a whole stigma around mental health, isn't there, at the moment, where people just think, like you said earlier, if you can't see it, it doesn't really exist. But helping to talk about it really puts a positive spin on, even if you're having a crap day, that you can make it better just by simple mindset techniques. How about yourself, Viral? How have you kept yourself positive? So I know you've been off work for a little while as well, haven't you?
How have I kept myself positive?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm probably I'm the opposite of Elliot. This has been a great opportunity.
Okay.
In that it's helped everyone look inwards, even though I said I go inwards as well, to think about what you actually want. Because all of us have been on that 1 week holiday or 10-day holiday. You don't really switch off until after a week. So you don't really get to enjoy your holiday, for example.
Yeah.
Because we've been off for so long, I've been personally able to reflect and look back and say, right, what do I want? What don't I want? And that's really been great for my mental health. Physical health, not so much, because you get a bit lazy.
I think we've all put on those few pesky pounds, haven't we?
we all have. I've been trying to implement what Jin was saying, that I don't run, so I'm not going to lie to anyone. But through cycling and things like that, I've been trying to do what Jin does, but it is difficult to motivate yourself. However, as from a mental point of view, it's given me control. It gives you control when you want to wake up, when you want to do this or you want to do that. I'm not one of those people that like being told, you know what, Vero, you got to do X, Y, Z, because it's going to be followed by a profanity from me. But I'm just going to be like, no, I'm going to do it this way. This is the way I'm going to do it. Yeah. So I probably don't make the best employee. So that's really helped me, and it's helped me. I wouldn't have launched my business if it hadn't been for this time. I doubt I would have, because it gave me control. This thing gave me control over my time. And that's one thing that I have been searching for since I left university. Because when you go into a job, you are not the master of your own time anymore. No. And now you become the master of your own time, and time you can't make or get back. So I've actually found it great personally. I know a lot of people have gone through hardships, turmoils, etc. But I'll tell you what, for me, I've loved it. It has been great, just being master of your own time. Yeah. And that's really has helped your mental health. And one last thing I'd say is, going back to what I said earlier, there are going to be crap days. There are days you have crap days, but now, because you're in control of your own time, it's better. Yeah. And it's really, really good.
No, I understand that. I understand both of your perspectives, because I didn't have that time off. I continued working, but I was working from home before, so I haven't had that physical break. It's been the evenings and the weekends for me when you can't really do anything that you normally would do. And I've been on an up and down cycle throughout the whole of lockdown of And it does affect you mentally and physically as well, because you're not doing anything physical other than walking around the streets, avoiding everybody else, or acting like a little lost lamb. So I'm kind of glad we're going back to some sort of normality at least. Jin, how about yourself? I know you've got 2 kids, so I bet they
Yeah.
kept you busy with this homeschooling as well.
Yeah, I think like everybody, I think it's not been smooth sailing all the way through, but homeschooling's not easy, and I think it gives you a lot more respect for teachers and what they do. You know, I'm looking after one child, and I've got 2 children. One of the older one was kind of self-sufficient; she'd just get on with it. The younger one would have to chase around the house, trying not to get to sit down. So it's hide and seek first before we did any work. But yeah, it's been challenging, but I think after a while, the children kind of got used to it. For me, I wasn't too bad as well. If it wasn't for the mindset stuff that I'd be doing, I think I would have really struggled.
Yeah.
But because of the mindset of stuff I've been doing pre-lockdown, it's enabled me to control again my emotions and thoughts. So I've still been doing my morning routine all the way through, and I've kind of think differently. I do a lot of reading now. Reading's part of my morning routine, and the stuff I read really helps me. And one of the things I quite often read is often looking at problems, looking at problems with solutions. Never see a problem just as a problem. Turn it around and find a solution, because there is always a solution.
Yeah.
And I've just looked at the lockdown and seen what opportunities I could gain from it as well. And if it wasn't for lockdown, I wouldn't have had the ability to set up my magical speaking course. I wouldn't have even thought of it, and to run something like that online. And that's gave me the idea to run magical speaking online. And before I knew it, I was doing magical classes in Nigeria, India. I've got children from Dubai. I've got children from Qatar, and it's just crazy. That would have never been possible if it wasn't for lockdown, because you wouldn't have had children being at home to do online courses, and I wouldn't have come up with the idea anyway. So there has been opportunities there, and then the online magical morning classes that I've been running. So I've been running them all the way through as well. Well, not all the way through, but most of the first bit of lockdown. And I would have never. I only did it because the school. I wanted the children in the school to be able to continue magical mornings. The schools I was running it in. So I told all the parents, why don't you just come onto my Facebook, and the children can continue. I didn't expect to get 10,000 views, and that's just another opportunity, something that's come out of lockdown, and it's helped me promote magical mornings and my magical speaking course. So there are always opportunities, even in bad times. So it's just being able to look at a bad time and say, okay, what can I learn from this, and what opportunities are available. But again, like Viral said, it's not been smooth sailing. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm amazing because I've got this amazing mindset that anything that comes my way I can control and all that, because that's just the Instagram kind of life that people try to portray, and life's not like that at all. Not for anybody. We all have our ups and downs. The key to it is identifying your ups and downs and knowing how to bring yourself up when you go down. When you're too hot, when you go up, it's also important to bring yourself down a little bit, because when you're too much on a high, you can kind of come back down quite heavily and crash. So it's always trying to control your emotions somewhere in the middle ground. That's again all the things I've learned is from books and reading. And there was a time probably 5-6 years ago, I've never picked up a book. So I'm a big believer in reading books and educating yourself, and especially on self-development as well.
Yeah, Jin, you mentioned about Instagram and portraying this fancy lifestyle. So do you think social media platforms actually affect mental health in a negative way or positive way? What's your feeling on social media as well with mental health awareness?
I think for a lot of people, it affects them negatively, because there's a lot of people look there and compare. And there's a lot of comparison. So they'll look at people's life and say, okay, that person has said they've made £1 million by having an online business, that they travel around the world with a laptop, and that's the life, and I want that life. Or various other things. They've gone from being overweight to having a 6-pack in 6 weeks. And there's so much stuff out there, but most of it is fake and it's not real. People are either trying to sell you courses or trying to make themselves look good, but most of the time there's no quick get rich quick schemes. There's nothing out there, and there's no easy way out. There's no easy way to get a six pack. You're gonna have to work for it. There is no travel around the world and get paid for it and get millions, because people are working behind the scenes, are working hard, and that's just the way it is. A lot of people don't see that. So there is a lot of negativeness, and then there's obviously negativeness around people bullying each other and saying nasty things, especially with children as well these days. So there is a lot of negativeness there, but I don't see social media as a bad thing. And with my magical speaking classes, I encourage the children to do social media videos afterwards, and people probably think, "Oh, it's crazy. Why are you doing that? And it's so negative." But what I'm trying to say to everybody, and the way I see it, is social media is not going away. Social media is always going to be there now, and it's not going. So you've got two options. You can either try to hide your children away from it and say you're not going on social media, but what they're going to do, you try to tell a child not to do something, they really want to do it. So, and it is not going to go, it's part of their life. So what I try to do is get children to change what they say on social media. Be real.
Yeah.
Say positive things and spread positive messages and change the world. Use it to change the world, because it's a massive platform. So if you want to stop something like plastic pollution, cyberbullying, anything else, get on Facebook and tell the world how you're feeling and how it affects you. And that's the way you can use social media in a positive way. So it's social media itself is not the problem. It's the way people are using it.
Yeah.
If you can change the way people use it in a positive way, then it can have a positive effect.
Yeah, it's to use it as a positive influence rather than negative, and not to take everyone too seriously of what they're promoting on the likes of Instagram with their posh lifestyles, right?
Yeah, similar to what we're doing now. So what we're doing now, we're trying to spread positiveness. We're trying to talk about things like mental health, and I think that's what I want people to do and use it in that way.
So Edith, you are on social media on all the platforms, or do you just select which platforms you use?
I actually come off all the platforms 3 years ago. I come off Facebook, come off Instagram. The only one I really use now is Twitter, but that's for political reasons and work reasons. I come off due to all the negativity, but I must say, especially during lockdown, there are some positive sides of things, and it's easy to keep in touch with other people. It's easy to talk to other people. It's easy to, I think some people feel better writing their feelings and writing actually how they're feeling.
That's it.
When talking about it. So although personally I wouldn't go back onto Facebook or Instagram or things like that, I can also see the positive sides of it.
Yeah, no, I see that too. Yeah, I get what you mean, Elliot. So it depends how you use the platforms, right? And I think during lockdown is a nice way to connect, to see what people are up to and how lovely the gardens look during lockdown. Viral, how about yourself? Are you utilizing social media platforms, or are you avoiding it?
I was deemed too ugly to be on Facebook, so it threw me off. No, just kidding. I do use all social media platforms because it's part of just being human and being a bit nosy, seeing what other people are doing, etc. And it does have a lot of positives as well. And I agree with the majority of what Jin said about the flashy lifestyles, etc. But it just brings out human nature with warts and all.
Yeah.
If it's used in a positive light, I mean, we've all got those Instagram stories and Instagram pictures of people with a Lambo doing whatever. If that inspires you to go and work hard and, go and get that Lamborghini, that's great. And it should be used in a positive way, and it can be used in a positive way. But as Jin said, that is no shortcut to anything. But I think that's actually a positive if someone tries to do it, because then because you only learn through your own mistakes. And if people are making those mistakes, that is, in a way, it's a good thing. I know it's an odd way of looking at it, but if you make the mistake mistakes. That's the only way you learn. I've made mistakes. I'll openly admit it. With the get-rich-quick schemes and things like that, you all learn that it's not all it's cracked up to be, and that spurs you on to go and do something. But going back to social media, yeah, it's here to stay. Use it for the positive basis for it, and it's always a good laugh, though.
Yeah, it's good to be a little bit nosy, isn't it, and see what other people are getting up to.
Yeah, it's great. It's great just watching people get into little. I'm not. It's like the old Indian aunties, like watching them all getting into little arguments. I'm not encouraging it, but being a fly on the wall, brilliant. It is hilarious. That's like dinner party material for days. So there is positives to it if you use it in the right way.
Yeah, I agree. So I was going to ask you one last question before we wrap up. The pressure of public speaking, do you think that can have a negative effect on your mental health? Because that question came from before I joined Toastmasters. When I was asked to present something or speak somewhere, that pressure really pushed me over the edge sometimes, and I was like, I can't do it, and I used to really work myself up. So do you think it can have a negative effect if you are not prepared in the way Toastmasters teaches you to speak in public, or to anyone at least?
I think that Toastmasters it's a great way of being introduced to public speaking, because one thing about Toastmasters is it's not just about public speaking. It's everything around it. It's the people that you meet, the friendships you have, the support network, and table topics thinking off the cuff, which leads to a lot of funny stories. It leads to a lot of stories that involve various kinds of things, a lot of gardening equipment and a lot of bushes for some reason. But
Elliot's got a few stories to tell there, Vera.
And how many places can you go? You can be serious for 1 minute, and then 10 minutes later you're talking about whatever, you're talking about bushes. So the point being, that's the variety that Toastmasters offers you. Going back to I know I've diverged, I've tangent, sorry. But going back to your question, you don't strictly have to do what Toastmasters tells you to do. It's just a platform. It's like, look, try it like this. Does it work? Great, go with it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But one thing about Toastmasters I've loved is the fact that it is a fear for most people, but you have to look at it in a positive way. If 80% of people aren't willing to do it, you're in the 20%, so you're already ahead of the 80.
Yeah.
So it can only be
trying, right?
Exactly.
No, that's great. Jane or Elliot, do you want to add something? Elliot's still giggling about pressures of public speaking.
Yeah, so I think, so there was a survey done actually 5 years ago about people's fears, and the fear of dying was number 3. The fear of public speaking was actually number 1.
Wow.
Which shows how scared people are of it. I think it is nerve-wracking, but nerves are not necessarily a bad thing. They can actually spur you on sometimes. And I think, as Jim said, he used to look to drink as a release. I used to do the same, but I don't think, and I would assume Jim would agree with me. And after doing that speech and absolutely smashing that speech really good, that buzz is better than any bottle of vodka, any bottle of whiskey can give you. And it is that buzz and the positiveness that actually drives you forward, and it improves every aspect of your life.
No, I agree with that, Elliot, because I think I used to have a really negative image of public speaking and talking in front of a group of people, even if it was 3 or 4 before Toastmasters. And now I feel like I've even got the confidence, and it is a support system, as Vero said, that you've got behind you to catch you if you do fall and to help you identify different ways to enhance your communication. So I'm going to wrap up now. So I want I was going to ask you for 3 things, but I'm going to just ask you for one. What one piece of advice would you give to our listeners to how to maintain a positive mindset? I think, Jane, have you got your answer ready? Do you
No,
want
I did. I had a answer ready for the last question. So, could I quickly answer that one?
go? Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So, yeah, I had the answer prepared in my head. So, in terms of public speaking, I think everything's public speaking. So, speaking to one person is public speaking, and people are afraid to do that as well, whether it be one person, 2 people, 5 people. So, I think Toastmasters does help you develop the skill in not just speaking to an audience. So when people think about going on a public speaking course, they think it's only for people that want to go and stand on a stage.
Yeah.
It's not. A public speaking course is maybe somebody that wants to do a presentation at work, or it might be somebody that's trying to communicate better with a family member. It might be somebody that's better trying to communicate with people at home, or just general people that meet in the street. And for me, Toastmasters helped in every element of that. And I was afraid to speak to 1 or 2 people. That's how bad I was. I used to get nervous inside, feel kind of tense, and a lot of times I used to drink is when I used to go out socialize to clubs and stuff like that. It's just so I can feel a bit more relaxed and feel the ability to communicate confidently. And I always thought that people only liked me after I've had a few drinks because I was more confident. And Toastmasters had a massive impact on me, so much that I've stopped drinking 11 months ago. I don't even feel the need. I can go out socially now and communicate with people, and that's how strong that impact can have on you. It's not just public speaking is everything, and if you're afraid just to go out and speak, it really does affect you mentally and physically, and with anxiety and lots of other things, stress. And I feel a lot of that's eased by doing Toastmasters, and it's allowed me to feel more confident and just go out and be myself, and know that I'm happy whether people like me as I am or not. I don't have to have a drink to become somebody else for people to like me. And I think it has made a massive difference to me.
So one piece of advice would you give to the listeners then?
If I'd give one piece of advice to anybody listening, maybe if it's regards to them thinking about joining a public speaking course and whether it would help them, I think there's a big stigma around what public speaking courses are, and things like Toastmasters. I never knew much about Toastmasters before I joined. I know some people that have heard of Toastmasters think it's some kind of culty type thing that's quite strange, and it's nothing like that. It is such a positive environment. It is a place to go and be surrounded by positive people that really do want to encourage you, really do want you to do well. And every speech you do, you got everybody around you trying to encourage you, trying to do well, telling you of their journey, how they felt the same as you when they joined. And people might be listening to us. They might think that we're good communicators, might not, I'm not too sure, but hopefully they'll see that we're decent communicators at least.
Yeah.
But the truth is, every single one of us here, and I hope you don't mind me saying that, would all say that before we joined Toastmasters, we wasn't as good as we are now. I don't know, be a lot better. And as you could probably say, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't feel bad if you just be honest in how you saw me, a year ago, and I wouldn't mind you saying that, because I think it'd really help, because I'm nothing like, I'm totally different to what I was like then.
To be honest with you, Jin, you're a changed man from where I first saw you, and I'll tell everybody, and I know it's live on Facebook, but Jin wouldn't even look up from the floor to talk to you on a one-to-one basis, and now he's got leaps and bounds to getting to the district second place.
Yeah.
International speech contest, running all these online courses, he's done youth leadership programs. So I really do think you've done a whole U-turn, Jen. And I think this whole culty business, I think a lot of people think that because they're not used to the positive group and the positive mindset. And everyone's always been bouncing off negativity for most of their life. And when you come into an area where it's all positive, you do have a culture shock to your system, because you're thinking, this is not my normality. So I think that's where the culty bit comes from it. Viral, what would be your one piece of advice?
My one piece of advice would be come join the cult. But okay. Actually, in all seriousness, my one piece of advice is it is okay not to be okay. If you got one bad day, yeah, we all have it. 2 bad days, 3 bad days. I've had 3 months, so as a Jin has had his 3 months as well. It's not about falling off the horse, it's about getting on. And without getting all Instagrammy, it is about getting on the horse. You might not get back on the horse at the same level you fell off, but you will work your way back. Because a lot of people right now, it's about getting back on the horse and, you know, being better than ever. Listen, you got to get back on the horse first. Think about that later. Main thing is get back on it. You're not the only one out there that's fell off the horse. There's loads of people out there. Come talk, because you'll be surprised what you can learn. And last thing is something I learned from one of the most positive dentists that I know, that I've had the pleasure of working with. He says the following: an obstacle is not something in the way, an obstacle is something that's on the way.
Wow, I like that. Elliot, what's your one piece of advice to our audience?
So I actually heard of Toastmasters about a year ago, and I was umming and ahhing whether to join, whether they'd accept me, things like that. But I actually joined during the lockdown. The lockdown actually forced me to do it. Maybe because of a board, I don't actually know.
Because you wanted to join us, Elliot, not because you
Of course. But the journey's been fantastic, and I am actually reading a book at the minute called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So I actually wish I'd have read that a year ago, because I would have felt the fear to join Toastmasters and join them anyway.
Thank you, Elliot, and thank you all actually. So thank you very much for joining us. So if you would like to join Walsall Speakers, we're actually going back to in-person meetings at Walsall College, the hub, on Thursday, the 3rd of September is our first meeting of the month. So we meet on the 1st and 3rd Thursday of every month, and we meet at 7:30 p.m. for a start. Social distancing rules will apply, but it would be great to give you big hugs from afar and give you a wave and a handshake from far away. And we also meet on Zoom as well on the 2nd Thursdays of every month, and we do table topics, which is impromptu speaking. We'll do speakathons where we'll do a series of speaking and let it out. And it's a great platform to, whatever's on your mind, put it in a speech. We'll help you put it together and you deliver it. And I think it helps with your mental health, and it will help you be a better person. Like Lyra said, be in the top %. So thank you very much for joining us. If you have any comments, please leave them for us, and you'll also find us on YouTube soon. So thank you very much. Say bye. Thank you all.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.